Alright, so we're going to lay out this piece of wood to make tails. So a dovetail has two pieces to it. It has tails, which is this board, and then it has pins, which these are pins. So this will make more sense as we move along. In the beginning it can be a little bit confusing to know the difference between a tail and a pin, but just know that we're starting with tails. So I set this these dividers to about 1/4 of an inch. I didn't measure it, but so I'm going to start from each edge of the board. I'm going to make a little mark at 1/4 of an inch, and so that is going to be the edge of my tail. So I'm making a straight line across that. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the dividers. I'm going to try to have 4 pins and 4 tails here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick one leg of the divider in the middle of this first pin, and then I'm going to aim for 4 even dovetails. So start in the middle of that pin, go back, see where we are. We're pretty close. I'm going to tighten it up a little bit. I'm going to put a mark there, put a mark there, put a mark here, and that's close enough. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this same size that I started with here on the edge with the dividers, which is about 1/4 inch. I'm going to straddle each one of these marks as evenly as I can. If it's not perfect, it's not critical at this juncture, and you'll see why. Put 2 more marks there. Use the dovetail gauge and mark the outer tick marks there. And these dovetails that we're making here are bigger than you're going to end up using. They're what I would call kind of a clunky dovetail, and it's even a size that you could cut with a router. And so the reason we're doing that is just to make it a little easier, to give you more room to work. Once you get good at this, you're going to make smaller pins, so that sometimes, so I typically will make this size more like a 1/16 when I'm cutting them myself, or sometimes even less than a 1/16, like a 32nd. So the next thing we're going to do is take the dividers here, take the depth gauge, hopefully, and I'm going to set it to the exact thickness of the board. And I'm assuming that both boards that we're going to use here for our joint are the same thickness. And so I'm going to set it to the thickness of the board, and then I'm going to make a line around the whole board. And that's going to be a guide to know the depth of our joints. So I went around each side there. So hopefully that made sense. And so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this backwards so that you can see it. Normally I would mark these toward myself, but then you wouldn't be able to see them. So I'm going to use this and put marks on the board. And I'm going to go past my line there on the bottom with the pencil. Make them on this side. So there you can see we've, now what I'll do too is I'm just going to put a little squiggly line here, because this is the waist, meaning the part we're going to cut out. So I'm going to mark the waist so we don't get confused and cut out the part that we want to save. And now I'll put the marks also on the back here, which is the back to you or the front to me, with the dovetail gauge. And the angle is, well, it's 8 to 1. I don't know what that angle is. Must be like 12 degrees or something. So anyway, there's the dovetails laid out. So this is waist up here also. And in the next video, we're gonna cut them out.